So picture this. It was August 11th, 2030. I was in Runzhou, Ningjiang County, and the sun was absolutely murdering the asphalt. Heat waves were coming off the rural road, so thick you could practically fry an egg on it. Not that I had time to think about cooking, because I had my fishing gear clamped between my legs, gripping the handlebars of my ninth-hand electric scooter, doing a blazing 20 miles per hour down this concrete road like a man on a mission. And I was on a mission because word had reached me that a 2-meter-long giant fish had shown up in Wangzhuang Reservoir. Now, I just finished my junior year of college, had some time before my internship, and I've been working on building up my social media account. If I could catch that monster fish and film it, I'd go viral for sure. So there I was, pedaling along, literally narrating my own adventure out loud, telling this imaginary fish that daddy was coming for it, making goose noises and everything. Peak dignity right there. Then an elderly mobility scooter came flying at me from a side dirt road, like it had a death wish. 1 second, I was vibing. The next, I was staring down a 3-wheeled missile piloted by someone who clearly thought red lights were suggestions. My pupils contracted so hard I swear I saw my great-grandmother waving at me from the other side. Too late to dodge. Bang! My scooter went sideways. I went airborne, several meters up, and then I met the dirt road face first. Rolled a few times before I stopped. The pain hit me all at once. Deep flesh pain, bones complaining, head splitting open. I turned into a full-body shivering machine. Right in that moment, a mechanical voice went off in my head. Beep, host detected, system binding in progress, binding successful. Then it told me I'd been hit by a Lamborghini and was in critical condition, and in 60 seconds it was going to transmigrate me to the immortal cultivation world, so I should arrange my funeral affairs as soon as possible. I was lying there, half dead, and I was thinking a system, like the golden finger from novels. This meant maybe after a few thousand years of cultivation, I could actually save my parents, who died in a car accident. That thought hit different. But then I had a question. A Lamborghini? That thing that hit me was an elderly mobility scooter. How fast did those things even go? My head was a bit dazed and my body hurt. And this thing was telling me to arrange my funeral? Had reincarnation gotten that efficient now? What could you even do in 60 seconds? Delete your browser history. Also, what about my little sister if I died? These messy thoughts were spinning around when this absolutely vigorous wailing erupted from the distance. Oh gosh, the Annie was going. I was 69, and with a bang, I crashed into someone. My head, ouch, my elbow, ouch, my old lower back, and my hip joints. This was going to kill me. I turned my head to look. The woman was completely unscathed. Not a scratch on her. She was lying prone over her steering wheel, arms swinging up and down like she was conducting an orchestra of suffering. And I was thinking I hadn't even started screaming yet, and she was already going through the entire injury list. Everything she was saying was supposed to be my lines. I wanted to get up, but the second I turned sideways, pain racked my whole body, so I just stopped moving and shouted at her to stop carrying on. Even though there were no cameras here, she'd hit me, and she needed to call the police because I couldn't move. The wailing stopped immediately. She raised her perfectly intact head, took a good look around, confirmed there were no surveillance cameras, and without a single moment of hesitation, twisted the throttle and drove off. Just like that, she ran away without looking back, like she'd made some kind of solemn resolution. I was sitting there, mouth open. I could still be saved. What was she running for? Suffocation, petrification, shock, anger, all at once. The time was already short, and with me standing there dumbfounded, the seconds slipped away. The system announced transmigration was successful, activated the task panel and character panel, and triggered the beginner task. The task was about food being the paramount necessity of the people, and I needed to resolve the food issue or face starving to death. The reward was a grade 10 top-grade creation pill and a top-grade spiritual artifact storage ring. A light blue virtual panel appeared in front of me with an arrow. I could move left and right between the task panel and the character panel. My stats were pathetic. Strength 1, Physique 1, Agility 1, Spirit 1. Spiritual root was high grade 5 elements. Cultivation, Technique, Faction, Magic Treasure, Martial Skill, Wealth, all none. I just arrived on the Xinjiang continent, or so I thought. Then I looked around. The cracked, rural concrete road was still there. My scooter was smashed to pieces next to the elderly mobility scooter. My phone, still clutched in my arms, chirped out a navigation prompt saying I'd deviated from the route and should drive east along Hello Road for 800 meters. I pulled out my phone. Full signal bars. The map was still going, cheerfully telling me my direction was wrong and to turn the vehicle around. I felt my entire body go numb. What happened to the agreed-upon transmigration? The agreed-upon Xinjiang continent? The agreed-upon immortal cultivation? I've been nervous for half the day, and this was the punchline? The system had transmigrated to the Xinjiang continent. Not me, just the system. It left me behind on Earth like some kind of digital vacationer. I asked it directly if it was sure we'd transmigrated, and it cheerfully confirmed that it had indeed transmigrated, and I should complete the task, or I'd starve. So the system was off enjoying its little cultivation world, and I was still sitting on a dirt road in Ningjiang County with a twitching mouth and a whole lot of questions. After I finished cursing the system internally, I noticed something odd about the task. Search for food. Completion reward was a grade 10 top-grade creation pill and a top-grade spiritual artifact storage ring. But what counted as food? Rice, flour, wild vegetables, coarse grains, all food. This task seemed absurdly simple, like I was exploiting a bug and shearing the system's wool. And if that's how it wanted to play, then I was exploiting bugs by imperial decree, and it couldn't blame me. So I stood up slowly, every part of my body protesting, and took stock of the scene. I used my phone to photograph the tire tracks, the skid marks, the scattered fragments of my poor scooter. Picked up every piece of debris. That hit-and-run Annie could run, but evidence was evidence, and I wasn't leaving a single thing behind. After that, I endured the pain and rode to the community hospital near home. Registered, got checked up on per the doctor's instructions. Tossed and turned until past 11, and the results came back. Moderate concussion plus slight bone fracture. The doctor suggested staying for observation, but said resting at home was fine since it was close. I grabbed my stuff and headed straight for the Shaxian delicacies downstairs. System wool, if you didn't shear it, you were missing out. I limped into the shop and ordered a bowl of preserved vegetable noodles with an added egg and sausage. The boss, a short guy in a gray t-shirt, recognized my voice and chuckled, saying little Fan was here again. Then he looked up, noticed the bloodstains and dust on my clothes, and asked what happened. I told him I'd gotten hit by an elderly mobility scooter. He launched into a whole rant about how those things were ruining people, driving recklessly, going the wrong way, and how one of these days a big truck was going to take care of the problem. I gave him a wry smile and said all you could do was guard against it. He sighed heavily about public morals deteriorating, then brought over my noodles with a smile. When the noodles arrived, I picked up a single piece with my chopsticks and silently chanted in my heart, "Brother Tong, look at this, what was this?" The system chimed. Food task completed. Rewards delivered. Tier 10 peak grade creation pill, peak grade spiritual artifact storage ring. Then immediately, a new task triggered. Water was the source of life. Now that there was food, I needed to find a clean, drinkable water source or face dying of thirst. Reward: 10 tier 1 peak grade puppet talismans and 8 tier 2 medium grade disease-ridden talismans. I glanced at the mineral water in the refrigerator, got up, scanned the code to pay 2 yuan, and took out a bottle. Back in my seat, I opened it and silently said in my heart, "System, look at what this was." The system confirmed the water task was completed. Rewards delivered. 18 talisman papers appeared in my ring. I hissed when I saw what those talismans could do. The disease-ridden talisman, once stuck on a target, the paper would become invisible, and every illness within 500 meters would be drawn to attach to them. Once afflicted, the body would continuously weaken, death coming in as long as a month or as short as half a month. The puppet talisman could briefly control someone's words and actions for 15 minutes. These two kinds of talisman papers were a bit ruthless. What kind of person could even use these things? But my gaze immediately landed on the travel permit task. I knew what a travel permit was, a kind of pass in ancient times, equivalent to an introduction letter from decades ago, used as proof of identity so officials could tell whether you were one of their own or a spy. Wasn't that just the same as an ID card? Just as I was thinking that, my phone lit up. The caller ID showed my jurisdiction's landline number. I hurriedly answered. The voice on the other end said they were from the Runzhou Ningjiang Public Security Substation, asking if I was Mr. Lin Fan. I said I was. They told me they'd received a report that I was suspected of intentional injury and hit and run, and asked me to come to the substation to cooperate with the investigation. And then the system dropped a warning. Detected a Qi refinement stage evil cultivator intending harm toward me. Please counterattack. My pupils contracted, and a trace of resentment flashed through my eyes. Hit and run? Intentional assault? I wasn't even settling scores with them yet, and they were trying to frame me? I hung up the phone with a plan already forming. I quickly finished my noodles, left my fishing gear at the boss's shop, made another phone call, and then headed straight to the Public Security Bureau carrying a small bag. I was thinking, you committed a hit and run and framed me? If I were an ordinary person, you'd have successfully extorted me. Pulling a stunt like this, did they think I was easy to bully? I really wanted to see what kind of freaks and monsters they were, daring to mess with someone who owned a system. When I got to the entrance of the Public Security Sub-Bureau courtyard, I saw the family of the old woman who'd hit me surrounding two public security officers. Quite a few onlookers were gathered too, men and women, old and young. The old woman hadn't had any injury on her forehead before, but now her entire forehead was covered in blood, and she was holding a piece of gauze over it. I glanced around and quickly tapped the recorder hanging from my collar. This was what I usually use for filming while fishing, about the size of an index finger, very compact, just a camera lens peeking out. I turned it on, then walked openly up to the two officers. Before I could speak, the old woman who'd hit me pointed right at me and blurted out to her son, Manhwa, "It's him. He's the one who hit me." A middle-aged man, around 40, bolted up to the officers, pointing at me with a face full of grief and indignation, tears mixed in with his words. He told the comrades of the public security that his mom was hit by me, that I didn't save her and committed a hit and run, and they needed to uphold justice. The family chimed in one after another. The old lady was almost 70. How could she withstand a hit? She was covered in blood. This was a hit and run with full liability. They demanded lost wages, medical expenses, nursing care fees, transportation expenses, hospitalization meal subsidies, nutritional supplements, mental emotional distress damages, and all follow-up treatments. Several people surrounded me, chattering endlessly, eyes filled with excitement. In their eyes, I was simply an ATM delivered right to their doorstep. No surveillance footage, so whatever they said went. I calmly picked my ear and asked the officer who all these people were, what their names were, and whether this intentional assault business had been made clear. The officer, Han Li, introduced them. The old lady was Zhu Guifan, her son Lu Jianhua, daughter-in-law Zheng Douyin, daughter Lu Mei, son-in-law Gao Xing, grandson Lu Guodong, granddaughter Lu Qian, and the rest were relatives. They claimed I hit the old lady and then ran. No surveillance at the scene, no eyewitnesses, so things were complicated. Before I could even open my mouth, the whole swarm of Lu family members surged forward, stretching their necks and clamoring. No settlement, absolutely no settlement. This person needed to be locked up for years. Then the granddaughter, Lu Qian, stepped up. She was 1.65 meters, 120 caddies, 4 out of 10 looks, and a minor streamer on SharkNet who attracted fans with high-tech makeup and beauty filters. Knowing her grandma had hit a young man with no surveillance around, the family discussed it and decided this was traffic sent by the heavens. She'd already started a live stream, and now she aimed her camera directly at me, telling her family members to take a good look at the person who hit her grandma. Her grandma was 70 years old with half her body already in the lus. The old hag joined in, wailing about her head hurting, asking if there was no justice, no rule of law. In Lu Qian's stream room, the netizens were filled with extreme anger. The stream originally had a few thousand viewers, but under the tearful acting of the Lu family members, Her agency caught wind of a business opportunity and directly purchased traffic. The viewer count skyrocketed, and in a short while, it had broken 500,000. I was unaware of the livestream situation, but even without guessing, I knew people would be steering the narrative against me. Watching the whole family put on their act, I couldn't help marveling. I had to admit, the old hag's acting skills were superb. Awarding her an Oscar wouldn't be an exaggeration. She was countless times better than those pretty boy starlets who only knew how to act awkward. As for the rest of them, Best Supporting Actor and Best Actress were well within reach. I walked straight up in front of Lu Qian's phone and took a close look. Yoho, not bad. 570,000 people already. Seeing me stand right in front of the camera so foolishly, the Lu family members wore looks of joy. They'd already calculated everything before coming. Lu Jianhua stepped forward and pointed at me, saying I should hand over 80,000 first, and any excess would be refunded or made up later. Then he leaned in close and whispered that the people outside were all his men, and if I dared run, he'd break my legs. I narrowed my eyes slightly without replying. I walked to the side, pulled out my phone, and made a call. Then I walked back to the officers with a smile and whispered that I wanted to report crime. The officers were clearly stunned. I leaned closer and explained. Today I've been on my way to Wangzhuang Reservoir to fish, and on Hahua Road, I was hit by an elderly mobility scooter. Now I not only wanted to press charges for hit and run, but also for defamation, extortion, and fabricating facts to falsely accuse another person with intent to subject them to criminal prosecution. I had photos of my vehicle's travel trajectory, dashcam footage, photos of the damage, invoices for medical expenses from a legitimate hospital, medical records, diagnostic certificates, inspection reports, and all other relevant documents. I also had full audio and video of what just happened, the viewer count in their live stream room, and video footage of everyone who'd spoken. I asked the officers to clear my name. I spoke very low, audible only to the three of us, while the Lu family was busy discussing how to demand money. My words sent a shiver through both officers' hearts. After viewing several videos from the body cam connected to my phone, both officers glared angrily at the Lu family. The former sub-bureau director had just been arrested for corruption, and the municipal bureau director had personally come down to inspect. The older officer gasped and asked what I wanted to do. I glanced at the glaring crowd and smiled faintly. Punish them severely without leniency. No mediation. Even if I didn't get a single cent, they had to receive the maximum penalty. Society was ruined by people like them, and it was best to make an example. I'd already hired professional lawyers, who'd be here shortly. Meanwhile, the Lu family members had gathered near the main entrance, whispering among themselves. Lu Jianhua excitedly told his wife Zheng Duoyan that young people were so easy to fool, and that young officer was probably going to draft an agreement. Zheng Duoyan hugged his arm admiringly, but asked if 80,000 wasn't a bit too little. Lu Jianhua lit a cigarette leisurely and said it wasn't little at all. Even 10,000 would be enough. As long as they got him to agree to pay for the old lady's ongoing medical expenses, they'd have a steady stream of income. The old woman's daughter Lu Mei and son-in-law Gao Xing leaned in too. Lu Mei said even if it was 10,000, getting 5,000 per household was pretty good. Gao Xing scoffed and said why not 80,000? If they got 80,000 and a few more suckers came along, they could pool the money and buy a new car. Hadn't they seen third uncle's family buy an X7M60i? He asked a white-bearded old man nearby, who laughed proudly and said an old guy like him didn't have many years left, so shouldn't he find a way to leave something behind for his son and daughter? Meanwhile, the kids were weeping bitterly in front of the phone camera, recounting the severity of the old woman's injuries to an audience that had grown to 810,000 viewers. Over a dozen police officers strode out of the building. The old woman pointed at me and shouted at the top of her lungs to arrest me, and if I didn't compensate them, throw me in prison for 8 or 10 years. From her excited expression, there was no sign whatsoever that she was injured. The next second, to everyone's utter shock, the officers charged straight toward the Lu family and forcefully restrained several of them, twisting their arms behind their backs. The watching Liu family relatives were bewildered, and the live stream viewers instantly blew up. Why were they arresting the victims? That young guy must have connections. The netizens were fuming. Then the crowd of onlookers surged forward aggressively, pointing at the officers, accusing them of bullying ordinary citizens. Someone shouted that I must be some rich young master. A group of middle-aged officers in full uniform emerged, and a leader, a dignified man in his 50s, snatched Liu Qian's phone away. A young officer handcuffed her directly. Liu Qian panicked and shouted about what grounds they had. The middle-aged man said coldly that her grandmother was suspected of hit and run, and the family was suspected of insult, defamation, picking quarrels, and provoking trouble and extortion. As one of the main instigators, they needed to interrogate her, and the phone would be temporarily confiscated. Liu Qian pointed angrily at me, screaming that I was the one who did the hit and run, and that I must be some rich young master they were favoring. The sudden turn of events caused the stream to explode past 1 million concurrent viewers. The middle-aged man let out a cold sneer and said they were enforcing the law impartially, and they had proof. The older officer stepped forward holding a tablet, and in front of the million viewers, he tapped on the first video. In the video, my shabby little electric scooter was driving slowly along a concrete road, accompanied by my weird laughter about cute big fishies. Then a red elderly mobility scooter dashed out from a dirt road at no less than 60 kilometers per hour. The video owner swerved left, but couldn't avoid it, getting knocked flying. The video blurred, then came back into focus, and everyone heard the Annie's hearty wailing about being 69 and slamming into things, her head, elbow, lower back, hip joints all hurting. But through the video, everyone could see the old lady was completely fine, only her scooter was damaged. She was lying slumped over the steering wheel, letting out one shrill cry after another. Then my voice shouted at her to stop screaming and call the police. To the shock of all the netizens, the old woman's wailing stopped abruptly. She looked around carefully, realized there were no cameras, and drove off without hesitation. This sudden reversal left the netizens dead silent. But soon someone argued that if I was the victim, why didn't I call the police right then? Maybe it was fake, AI generated. The stream was polarized. Then the video switched to photos, skid marks, dropped fragments, and then Liu Jianhua's threatening words about breaking my legs. When everyone saw that final video, the whole live stream room fell silent for several seconds. The sudden reversal also caused the traffic to multiply. In less than a minute, it broke 3 million. The public opinion shifted instantly. Netizens realized they'd been used. The old hag was definitely pulling a scam. This family was premeditated. If the young man didn't have a video, he would have taken a tumble. This wasn't just a scam, it was trying to drive someone to their death. Some locals from Ningjiang County recognized the people. They looked like they were from Wang Village. Baoma Township in Chuzhou to the north, Wang Village in Runzhou to the south. That village specialized in scams. Every single one of them was pitch black. They used to block the road to collect tolls, and now they directly pulled scams. The middle-aged officer waved his hand and addressed the netizens. There was no surveillance on that road before, and they'd invited the victim over wanting to mediate. But they hadn't expected these people to be so daring. Please rest assured, fellow netizens, they wouldn't let any bad guy go, nor wrong any good person. He told his subordinates to take them to interrogation rooms 1 through 7, interrogate separately, and make them confess all their criminal experiences. All the officers said in unison, "Yes, Director Sunday." The old woman didn't expect the Public Security Bureau to handle things so swiftly. In her impression, hadn't these people always smoothed things over in the past? She was simply dumbfounded. The other onlooker villagers stopped talking and silently retreated outside the door, watching quietly, just waiting to activate the backup plan. Right then, the system started pinging in my mind. My divine might was peerless, it said, deterring 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Evil Cultivators. Reward: 300 low-grade 5 elements Spirit Stones. Deterring 15 Chi Refining Realm Evil Cultivators. Reward: 150 low-grade 5 elements Spirit Stones. deterring a golden core realm evil cultivator. Reward: 1,500 low-grade 5-element spirit stones and 1 first-rank top-grade 5 grains circulation talisman. In just a short while, 2,100 spirit stones and a talisman were credited. But I was staring at that 5 grains circulation talisman in shock. Its description said it reabsorbed food discharged from the stomach, effective for 15 minutes. Absorption. Isn't that just eating? The immortals really knew how to have fun. 15 minutes times 10 for lower grades was 150 minutes. Coupled with bowel-cleansing talismans or puppet talismans, the combinations were interesting. I looked around with a meaningful expression. At the same time, seeing the Public Security Bureau was getting serious. The Liu family threw their weight downward, stretching out their heads and shouting that they were wronged. This had nothing to do with them. They just came to accompany the old woman, and if anyone should be found, find the old woman. They told the old woman to speak up. Did she choose to suffer alone, or did she want the whole family to suffer? The officers didn't expect them to pull a 1,000-gene descent trick, and caught off guard, they all sat down on the ground. The old woman looked up, saw several people continuously winking at her, and thinking of what was said before coming here. She suddenly mustered up her energy and shouted that she confessed she was blinded by greed for money and just wanted to extort a sum to provide for her old age. The family members shouted one after another that they didn't know anything. Find the grandma. She deceived them first. Those who didn't know were not guilty. The Wong village onlookers spoke up too, saying the old woman was too evil, pitting her own family. Then a full voice sound came from outside the courtyard. A man's voice, laying it out professionally. The perpetrator drove, without a license, hit and injured my client, then fled the scene, causing my client to suffer a moderate concussion and minor bone fractures. The perpetrator fabricated facts, falsely accused and framed my client, and tried to incite public anger to sway the officers. The circumstances were extremely vile. Furthermore, he suspected that after hitting the person, the perpetrator returned home, gathered family members and villagers, and attempted to instigate social disputes through self-harm and live streaming, extorting my client. He suspected these people were backed by an organized, premeditated, underworld-related and evil-related syndicate. In accordance with his client's request, he asked the Public Security Bureau to open a case for investigation, enter the investigative stage as soon as possible, file a public prosecution as soon as possible, and return justice to his client, justice to society, and justice to the law. We cannot retreat from the law toward legality just because they were elderly. Otherwise, it would not be enough to comfort the public's hearts, appease public anger, or warn future generations. If not stopped, they would inevitably transition from underworld-related and evil-related to terror-related and drug-related. By then, director's son, you would be the sinner of Great Xia. Inside the courtyard, whether it was me, the officers, or the Liu family, everyone was startled upon hearing these words. Being underworld-related and evil-related was already serious enough, but terror-related and drug-related on top of that? Everyone looked toward where the voice came from. I raised my head and saw a man and a woman walking in one after another. I was very familiar with both of them. The woman in the back was named Liu Sweki, 26 years old, an intern lawyer, and my tenant as well as senior schoolmate. The other one was Liu Sweki's teacher, Lin Beishan. People didn't know Liu Sweki, but many people had heard of the gold medal lawyer Lin Beishan. His nickname was the outlaw of the legal system. According to his battle record, there was a cold joke in the industry. When Lin Beishan performed suboptimally, he could send the opponent in. When performing normally, he could send the opponent and the opponent's lawyer in. Performing exceptionally, he could send the hammer-knocking judge, the opponent's lawyer, and the audience in. The Liu family members were stunned at the lawyers appearing. They hadn't considered a lawsuit from the beginning, never hired a lawyer, and never expected a challenger to pop up. They realized this person had come to deal with them, and shouted unhappily, asking who the hell he was, accusing lawyers of turning black into white, and saying they'd remember him. The Wong village onlookers also realized the matter had blown up. They spoke up saying lawyers were the most annoying. The old woman was muddle-headed. Was he muddle-headed too? They were just seeing injustice on the road and helping, and now they were being treated like terrorists. Seeing this, my blood surged. These people dared threaten my people? I might not handle so many outsiders, but the Liu family? I sneered and walked forward. I told the big brother that threats were useless. Be careful of having no descendants. I told the little sister that studying wasn't enough. She had to learn dirty methods. Be careful of degenerating. And the grandma, so old, living without accumulating virtue, she'd suffer when she died, climbing mountains of swords, descending into oil cauldrons, having her tongue pulled out. As I walked past each one, I said some words and patted them at the same time, quietly sticking illness-ridden talismans and puppet talismans on their backs. All 7 members of the family, neat and tidy. And on the son-in-law's back, I stuck the 5-grain circulation talisman. The next second, Liu Jianhua struggled free from the officer's control, slammed his foot fiercely into the others, kicking the men in their vital spots and the women in the knees. After kicking them, he cursed loudly that they'd ruined everything with the good deeds they'd done. His sudden attack caused the males excruciating pain and cold sweat, while also arousing the rest of the family's anger. Eldest brother, what did you mean? Dad, you lost your mind? You had no conscience? Driven by anger and losing control of their bodies, they rushed forward and began beating Liu Jianhua with fists and kicks, usually as close as could be. Now, they were kicking groins, striking throats, poking eyes, using whatever dirty and vicious methods they could. Liu Jianhua was beaten until his eyes became hollow, saying he was wrong. He had no conscience. Then with a puff, a foul stench filled the air. Everyone was shocked. What was going on? Liu Jianhua rolled directly onto the ground and turned to pounce on the rest of the family. They were knocked down, getting filth all over their bodies. The crowd felt sick. In contrast, the son-in-law leaned forward with glowing eyes. Both he and Liu Jianhua widened their eyes in horror. After the nausea, led by the eldest son, the group turned around and rushed toward the Wang village onlookers. The villagers were grabbed and subjected to a wave of ravaging, kneeling on the ground, vomiting with tears streaming down their faces. After ravaging the villagers, the Liu family members knelt on the ground with hollow eyes, saying they had failed the common people, their ancestors, the country. Then they simultaneously grabbed the index fingers of their left hands. Snap, snap, a series of sounds, and the men all fell to the ground in pain. The netizens and officers had long been dumbfounded. Holy crap, what kind of operation was this? After the shock, the officers also reacted. Those who needed cleaning were sent for cleaning. Those who needed the interrogation room were sent to the interrogation room. And those who needed the hospital were sent to the hospital. At this point, the phone Sun Yu was holding had been handed to his subordinates, but he hadn't had time to turn off the live stream. Every move of Lin Beishan and the Liu family had been captured crystal clear. Countless viewers flooded in again. The netizens were saying, good grief, they'd even invited Lin Beishan, the outlaw outside the law. Look at how scared those people were. So ruthless. Someone noted that the guy's expression when eating that stuff didn't look fake. They thought they even heard the sound of balls shattering. They definitely shattered. How vicious the attacks were. This family would have no descendants in the future. Serve them right. It was a good thing the young man had a recorder, otherwise he'd have been screwed. Some newly entered netizens were curious what everyone was looking at with several million people. Earlier viewers turned into teachers one after another and started explaining. Meanwhile, sick people within 100 miles of the Ningjiang Public Security Bureau felt a wave of lightness in their bodies. Masses of black qi, invisible to ordinary people, converged toward the Bureau. After entering, they each locked onto their targets and flew toward the 7 Liu family members. In the interrogation rooms, a certain scene appeared in all the rooms. The Liu family members' bodies shook like a sieve, trembling all over, unable to speak at all. The officers asked their name. Their age got nothing. The officer glanced at them with disgust and said, don't think not speaking meant they could do anything. Evidence was conclusive. Confess, and there was still a chance for a reduced sentence. Otherwise, multiple crimes punished together, 10 or 8 years locked up. The Liu family members didn't reply, just continued trembling. The officer was startled, thinking they were having a medical episode, and stepped forward to check. After checking, nothing was wrong, and they returned to normal. The officers didn't care, assuming they were deliberately trying to attract attention, and showed helpless and sarcastic expressions. Tremble, continue. Since they like trembling, keep trembling. What these officers didn't know was that several clumps of black chi were continuously pouring into the Liu family members' bodies. For every fraction that poured in, they suffered a fraction more. Colds and fevers were fine, but migraines, angina, and toothaches were the most fatal, along with heart failure. Heart, liver, spleen, stomach, kidneys, bones, every single place felt uncomfortable. The disease-plagued talisman wouldn't instantly kill people, but the illnesses would accompany them for a long time. Insomnia and nightmares, soreness all over, recurring chronic illnesses plaguing them, long-term torment of illness until death. The Liu family members only felt their bodies getting sleepier and sleepier, and the old hag slumped directly on the interrogation chair and fell asleep. Back in the courtyard, I limped forward and shook hands with Lin Beishan and Liu Sweki. Attorney Lin, Sister Liu, I'd finally waited for them. I sighed and said I originally didn't want to pursue their responsibility, thinking the old woman wasn't having an easy time. But now they knowingly broke the law, extorted openly, and used public opinion to cyberbully me. Being a person was difficult, and being a good person was even harder. Liu Sweki told me not to worry. Her teacher wouldn't let me be bullied. Lin Beishan nodded without replying immediately, sweeping a cold gaze across the officers. They trembled under his gaze, not knowing why he was looking at them like that. Then he grinned at me and said we were from the same family. I didn't need to be polite. He wouldn't let any good person suffer a wrongful accusation, nor any bad person escape the law. He emphasized that under his watch, no bad person could escape. Although one of my legs was injured, my back was straight, and I looked at him with torch-like eyes. I trusted Teacher Lin. I'd fully entrust this matter to him. We absolutely refused mediation, no matter how much money was offered. If the two of them needed me to do anything in the future, just command it. My parents hadn't left behind too much money when they passed away, just 631,832.1 yuan plus 2 apartments. But I had the system. I had an SB system. Who was I afraid of? As the saying goes, drop personal quality, enjoy a devoid of virtue life. Rather than wronging yourself, make others suffer. So what if you found me displeasing to the eye? He'd mithen. Lin Beishan said good. Please write an authorization letter. I nodded, said he was Sister Liu's teacher. I trusted him, and I'd wire the lawyer's fee directly. Sorry to trouble him for help. Paying first had the advantage of avoiding work being affected by money issues later, and it allowed the lawyer to start working as soon as possible. Sun Yu stepped forward cheerfully to shake hands. Attorney Lin, we met again. Standing on the same front, we must make the criminals regret being born. Lin Beishan's expression turned cold, and he said numbly, sorry, apart from being on the same front as the law and fairness, he was not on the same front with anyone else. Please pay attention to the influence, Director Sunday, lest people misunderstand. With this emphasis, Sun Yu's heart twitched. This person was still the same as before, giving face to no one. Sun Yu smiled awkwardly and ushered him in. The officers in the courtyard couldn't help but gasp a cold breath. Attorney Lin was as fierce as ever. This bureau chief was getting old and muddled. It was said that more than 20 years ago, Attorney Lin's child went missing, and he'd investigated for more than 20 years without a shred of news. The officers in charge of the investigation at that time ignored people when asked about the situation, smoking during work hours, drinking alcohol, and playing cards. It seemed from that time on, Attorney Lin didn't give their profession any good expression. The case was handed over entirely to Lin Beishan, and it was already 5:39 in the afternoon when I left the Public Security Bureau. As I walked toward my electric scooter, I looked at the system panel. The system said I possessed unparalleled wisdom, cleverly using a spell cultivator to foil the evil cultivator's scheme. Reward: 10 5 elements low-grade spirit stones, and 1 first-rank top-grade intestinal cleansing talisman. The intestinal cleansing talisman increased the target's large intestinal peristalsis to 300% within 15 minutes. Basically a shit control talisman. With gastrointestinal peristalsis at 300%, instead of going once or twice a day, it directly changed to 5 to 10 times. Anyone who'd had diarrhea knew going once or twice was fine, but 3 to 5 times in a row hurt like hell. The effective duration was only 15 minutes, though, at most making someone lose control of their bowels. Having taught the wicked person a lesson and also received a reward, I was very satisfied, standing by the roadside and dancing with excitement. This system was too interesting. A lawyer was a spell cultivator, swindlers, and professional touch porcelain scammers were evil cultivators. I wondered what demonic cultivators were like. People passing by looked at the dancing me and cast sympathetic expressions. Going crazy at such a young age, how pitiful. Thinking of the travel pass the system had mentioned, I got on my scooter and hurried home. After my parents passed away, the 2 houses ended up in the hands of me and my younger sister, Linyu. Aside from our eldest uncle and eldest aunt, relatives from other branches rarely kept in touch. My sister usually stayed at school. Right after the college entrance exam, she went straight to the city center with her best friend to work a summer job, basically never staying home. Passing by Shaoxing Delicacies, I ordered a bowl of 8 yuan wontons. After finishing them, I parked downstairs and went up to my bedroom. I fished out my ID card from the bedside table and silently said, "Tongzi, look what this is." The system confirmed I'd obtained the travel pass. Quest reward: 1 bottle of first-rank high-grade Xiaowan pill and 3 first-rank low-grade cleaning talismans. Then a new quest triggered. The host had transmigrated here, and although a travel pass was obtained, there was no safe residence, and cultivation would easily attract attacks from Yao beasts. Please find a place to settle down. Reward: 3 second-rank medium-grade truth-telling talismans. A bottle of medicine and 3 talismans appeared in my ring. I narrowed my eyes, shook the property ownership certificate I'd taken out along with my ID card, and pouted, "Stupid dog system, take a look at what this is." The system confirmed settling down was completed. Reward delivered. The truth-telling talisman forced a person to speak the truth, effective for 5 minutes, applicable to same-rank cultivators. Due to the pain in my body, I took out a Xiaohuan pill. Each piece was as big as a peanut, 12 pills in a bottle. I tossed one into my mouth. It melted instantly on contact, sliding down my throat. It tasted very sweet, a bit like candy beans. After absorbing the medicinal power, my body felt numb and itchy, and my wounds healed completely at a speed visible to the naked eye. My back no longer ached, my legs no longer hurt, and I had strength in my walk. I felt like I could climb 6 floors in one breath. Seeing the Xiaohuan pill had such wonderful effect, I became curious about the other items too. The cleaning talisman could be used, but the intestinal cleansing talisman and truth-telling talisman were better left alone. Lacking a cultivation technique for the spirit stones, I could only fiddle with them and carry them around in my pocket. I tapped the cleaning talisman onto my body, and a faint blue light ignited within a 3-meter radius and then disappeared. The surrounding air became much fresher. Even the garbage in the trash can and the ashes and hair on the ground vanished. At this moment, a notification sound came from my phone. Tomato, the reading app, had recommended a novel called This Scholar Comes from the Netherworld. The system immediately triggered a new quest. The host had transmigrated to the Xintian continent and become an illiterate person. Looking at the unfamiliar characters, a huge sense of humiliation surged into his heart. New quest. Listen to and read the Xuanhuan biography, Scholar of the Other Shore. Master the characters of the Xintian continent. Reward: 1 first-rank top-grade Wisdom Spirit Pill and 1 yellow rank top-grade Qi Gathering Technique. I stared at that notification. This stupid dog system. Where did I look unfamiliar? I recognized all the characters perfectly. That was just a novel with several names, and it insisted on calling it a Xuanhuan biography. However, not taking advantage of freebies made you a bastard. I opened a novel and started reading. The text hit me with this passage about being too weak, frail, and delicate. The matters of this world far from as simple as you see. When you become strong, if you still remember today's events, and if your grievances remain unsettled, go outside the forest in the west of the city and take a look at the single-family courtyard with red walls and white tiles. The times are thus, is not your fault. If you're truly not dead, and if your grievances remain unsettled, then stop doing impulsive and foolish things. Keep your useful body to do something, and give this world a bright and clear universe. The system confirmed I'd master the characters. Reward delivered. Wisdom Spirit Pill and Chi Gathering Technique. The Wisdom Spirit Pill increased mental energy. The Chi Gathering Technique was a foundational cultivation technique, suitable for laying a foundation, compatible with all high-grade cultivation techniques. To use the Jade Slip, just press it against the center of my brows. I sat blankly in front of the desk, a trace of tears hanging at the corner of my eye. Then I slammed the table angrily. Damn, could this author not be so angsty? Even a big man like me shed tears, and this guy still dared to claim it was a sweet story. If he had guts, give me his address. I'd mail him some local specialties. It was one thing to write such angsty stuff, but to still call it a sweet story? Sweet my ass. No wonder others called him Daoziyin. The sugar he sprinkled was too sweet, it cloys the throat. Once I succeeded in cultivation, I'd shatter the void realm to find him and send him some local specialties. I let out a breath of suffocated air, took out the Jade Slip, and pressed it against the center of my brows. It shattered into powder, turning into white light that surged into my mind. The cultivation technique filled with instructions about exhaling the turbid and drawing in the clear. As soon as it entered my mind, I instantly understood everything, as if I'd been born knowing it. Although the grade was low, it was just right for my current self. I decided to test whether Blue Star had spiritual chi. I sat cross-legged, circulated the cultivation technique, and carefully perceived the surrounding air. Not long after, I felt something slightly different. Little spots of light in light gold, green, blue, red, and yellow automatically approached my skin. After entering my body, they formed a black speck radiating colorful light, which spun into my meridians. But the meridians were severely blocked, and there was very little spiritual chi in the air. Even after absorbing for more than 10 minutes, it amounted to no more than a hair-thin, multicolored speck. I took out 5 element spirit stones, grasped them tightly, and operated the technique. Innumerable small spots of light rushed toward me like bees smelling pollen. The spiritual chi in the spirit stones was 100, while in the air it was merely 0.001. These chi currents rotated and fused, drilling through blocked meridians, opening up the conception and governance vessels, then proceeding toward other meridians. Before the chi refining realm, there were 2 steps, sensing chi and guiding chi. Once guiding chi was successful, spiritual chi entered the body. The human body had 12 regular meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians, with 361 acupoints above them. When spiritual chi passed through these acupoints, it decreased, and after completing a minor heavenly cycle, the chi current slowly took shape as spiritual power. When the spiritual power within the minor cycle condensed into gas and completed a major heavenly cycle through all 20 meridians, it could converge into a chi vortex in the Dantian. That was the first layer of chi refining. Each subsequent layer condensed another vortex on the periphery, forming a vortex arm. 12 vortices meant the 12th layer, the great perfection. Successfully completing chi refining brought the birth of divine sense and self-contained inner vision, officially stepping into the immortal cultivation world. As the 2 spirit stones in my palms completely turned to powder, a soft sound came from beside my ears, as if something between heaven and earth had been shattered. I suddenly sensed that a small space had appeared within my Dantian. The multicolored spots condensed into a miniature black tornado, shimmering with brilliant colors, spinning endlessly. With every rotation, the surrounding space walls became thinner and the space grew larger. I opened my eyes and noticed a red dot on the interface. My cultivation had changed to Chi Refining Layer 1. My attributes were now Strength 1.5, Physique 1.5, Agility 1.5, Mental Energy 2.5. I couldn't help laughing excitedly. I'd done it. With these spirit stones, cultivation technique, and talismans, I could be considered half a Taoist immortal cultivator. Then I smelled a pungent, foul fishy odor. Looking down, my body was covered in a layer of pitch-black, viscous substance. Nauseated, I almost vomited and quickly stuck a cleaning talisman onto my body. After the stench dissipated, I observed closely. My height was still 178, but my hands had become fair and tender, and my belly had grown slimmer. Standing in front of the mirror, lifting my clothes, I looked at my well-proportioned, perfect physique. The corners of my mouth turned upwards. I was already handsome to begin with, and cultivation had strengthened it further, adding a hint of an abstruse and special temperament. Graceful and handsome like a jade tree, thoroughly at the campus hunk level. Walking on the road with this appearance, I'd definitely be a women killer. I wondered what level this speed was in the immortal realm. The system responded with a comparison. Within the Xinjiang continent, cultivating to Qi Refining Layer 1 relying solely on absorbing spirit stones and spiritual Qi. 3 months was trash aptitude, 2 months was low grade, 1 month was medium grade, 1 week was high grade, 1 day was top grade, half a day was peerless prodigy, and not needing to cultivate and advancing just by walking was a cheater. According to the system, breaking through in half a day made me a peerless prodigy even in the immortal realm. In this world without cultivators, I was completely far in the lead. My attributes had increased by 0.5 compared to before, and mental energy by 1.5. I wondered what the 4 dimensions of modern ordinary people, soldiers, and special forces were. The system told me ordinary people were 1 across the board, soldiers 1.5, special forces 2. My physical body was a weakness, so the attributes were completely normal. After cultivation, spiritual power would nourish the body and gradually increase. My strength was equivalent to an ordinary soldier, and my mental energy was even higher. That was probably the extra bonus of immortal cultivation. I figured I'd only need about 140 low-grade spirit stones to break through to Layer 2. I tested my physical body. Push-ups, squats, sit-ups. In 2 minutes, I easily broke 200 without any difficulty. It wasn't that my body was that strong, but the spiritual power continuously circulating made me feel no fatigue. Compared to before, my endurance had improved quite a bit. After replenishing with spirit stones, I thought of another problem. My parents had passed away in a car accident over a year ago. What realm did I need to reach, or what magic treasure did I need to resurrect them? The system explained that if the physical body was intact, I could reach the golden core realm and use the soul-calling art and soul-returning pill. If the corpse was damaged and the soul hadn't undergone reincarnation, at the nascent soul stage, I could use 100 karma copper coins or various rare materials combined with the soul-calling art to summon the soul from the spirit realm and reshape the body. I noticed the meaning behind the words. 100 copper coins could replace all the other things. And the soul not undergoing reincarnation meant it was in the city of wrongful death for those who died accidentally. I made a firm resolution to gather all these things and resurrect my mom and dad. No matter who it was, they could not stop me. My stomach rumbled. I glanced at my phone. 11:30. I boiled 2 poached eggs and 2 corns, poured a glass of milk that should have been meant for cows, and finished my breakfast lunch in a few bites. Then I remembered I hadn't eaten the wisdom spirit pill. I took it out and tossed it into my mouth. But as soon as it entered, I instantly regretted it. Bitter, too bitter. I never expected a pill could be so bitter my entire face twisted into a knot. But it increased mental energy, so I couldn't spit it out. I forced it down. Once it went down, the bitterness dissipated and my consciousness cleared up. The footage from the live stream had been screen recorded by someone and posted online. Without any promotion, in just a single night, The view count hit 10,000 and was rapidly increasing at over 100 per second. At the border of Runzhou and Huzhou, at Mode Company, a man in his 20s was listlessly browsing videos and came across the screen recording. At first he was angry, thinking how could contemporary young people hit someone and run away. Then he saw the end and realized he'd misunderstood. Looking at me in the video, he noticed the recorder pinned to my collar, and it looked very familiar. That was their company's product. As the marketing manager, he stared at the video for quite a while, then sniffed out a business opportunity. He kicked open the boss's door. Emothishing was checking output data and nearly jumped out of his skin. The marketing manager said he discovered a great business opportunity. After a long discussion, Emothishing narrowed his eyes, pondering the feasibility. He nodded and said the method was feasible, but then realized his manager's connections weren't as good as his, so he'd better pull strings himself to find me. The next morning, I was getting ready to go out when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I answered. The caller said he was Emothishing, boss of Mode Digital Company. The dashcam I used was their product. He'd seen the video online, deeply sympathized with my encounter, and wanted to hire me as a streamer with a base salary of 10,000 plus 5% commission. I looked at my dashcam and saw the MD letters. I understood their intention immediately. They wanted to use my popularity for hype and product promotion. I never thought about becoming a streamer for someone else's company. I used to have to go to school, and now I had to exploit system bugs and cultivate. There simply wasn't enough time. I refused politely. Emothishing had anticipated my refusal. He said our company wanted to use this incident to promote products, and he was willing to offer 100,000 per year plus 1% of monthly sales profit of related products. He also noticed I was running a video account, and since I was a college student needing an internship, they could provide an independent internship registration. I just need to make video accounts. Furthermore, he had a professional team. I'd shoot the video, send it over, they'd edit it and send it back. 2 birds with 1 stone. Right then, the system chimed. A new quest. Food, clothing, shelter, and transportation all required money. Earn the first pot of gold in life. Reward: 100 low-grade, 5-elements spirit stones. 100 spirit stones plus 100,000 yuan plus 1% monthly profit. I was thinking, were they offering this much? Just by agreeing, I get 100 spirit stones? The boss's attitude seemed pretty good, and coming straight out with 100,000 a year, as the saying goes, only a bastard doesn't take advantage when it's offered. Money delivered to the doorstep shouldn't be refused. I agreed. Emothishing was thrilled. He said the company was also in Runzhou. He'd already prepared the contract and could send it by email for electronic signature. After finalizing details, he sent the contract. I read it, confirmed no issues, and signed online. Emothishing directly transferred 100,000 yuan via Green Bubble, with a note that commissions would be distributed monthly. The system confirmed the first pot of gold was earned. Reward delivered: 100 low-grade, 5-elements spirit stones. Looking at the 100,000 yuan in my account, I stretched comfortably. Ever since I was hit yesterday, the good luck kept coming. After sending yesterday's video to Emothishing, I inserted the key and habitually twisted the throttle of my electric scooter, but the vehicle didn't move an inch. What was the situation? Was the car broken? I got off in confusion, put down the kickstand, and walked carefully around the vehicle. I soon noticed something off. After my car was hit yesterday, it did lose some parts, but it couldn't be this light. I checked the battery, and my liver hurt with anger. The spot where the battery was supposed to be was completely empty. Which dumbass stole my battery? My furious curse caught the attention of 2 boys. Looking at my battered electric scooter, they instantly burst into laughter. They were the twin brothers from the residential complex. The older one, Yifeng, said he thought I'd change my car, and even a piece of junk like mine getting stolen was hilarious. The younger one, Yu, said stealing a battery from this kind of scooter was purely a waste of effort with no reward. I told them to get lost. No matter how battered it was still my beloved car. A person doesn't mind their mother's ugliness, and a dog doesn't mind its family's poverty. I recognized these 2. They just entered the 2nd year of junior high, and since school was on vacation, they often went fishing with me. Yifeng had a gloating look and said they were leaving. The next second, a miserable scream came from Yiyu. His battery was gone too. That scream was truly heartrending. I, who'd originally been furious, burst into laughter. Let them laugh at me earlier, and now their battery was stolen too. Looking at their own cars, the two were on the verge of tears. They'd originally planned to sneak out to the internet cafe. Now the battery was stolen, and a new one cost several hundred yuan. With how stingy their parents were, they'd definitely get a mixed double beating when they got home. Yi was very smart and targeted me right away. He said we shared the same fate. I had to help them. If I helped, they'd introduce their cousin, the school belle of number 1 high school, and the people chasing her could line up for several kilometers. Yifeng added that if I didn't like someone that old, he'd introduce his classmate. I really knew the cousin they were talking about. She was going to start the 2nd year of high school and was only 16 years old. I was a model youth of the contemporary era. How could I do such a thing? I shook my head and told them not to think about messy stuff. Just tell me whenever they discovered good fishing spots. The two readily agreed, calling me their reborn parents. I raised my head to glance at the surveillance camera. It was working fine. I understood everything. Generally, places with cameras should be able to see who stole the battery. But daring to steal under surveillance meant either they were an idiot, an inside worker did it, or an inside worker tipped them off. I looked at the completely empty storage compartment on my scooter, and my eyes lit up. I told the two brothers to follow me to find the security guard. Thinking of the gatekeeping old security guard's 3 sons who mixed in society, Yifeng and Yiyu felt their scalps go numb. Apart from outsiders, everyone in the complex knew the security guard was around 60 with 3 sons and a daughter. None of the sons had much education. In their early years, they worked as hired thugs, burly with dragons and tigers tattooed on their bodies. Especially the second son, who'd accidentally injured someone and served 5 years. With their puny physiques, running into them was terrifying. I told them I was just having them follow me, not fight. If they were scared, go home. I'd figure it out myself. They were very scared but still gritted their teeth and followed. They were companions in misfortune. I strode toward the main entrance. Passing a supermarket, I bought 2 packs of hard Chunghwa cigarettes, an envelope, exchanged 200 yuan in cash, and slipped a body camera into my left pocket with only the lens exposed. I pushed open the security office door, and a strong smell of smoke hit me. The system chimed. Detected a spy from the Divine Thief sect. Capture him and the disciple behind him. Hand them over to the 6 fan doors. Reward: 3 tier, 3 supreme beast-shaping talismans, and 300 low-grade 5-element spirit stones. I was laughing internally. Audacious spy, disguising as a security guard in our complex. But when I clearly saw the scene, I took a sharp breath. The security room was only about 10 to 20 square meters, but it was piled with pots, pans, bowls, a bed, and even a bright red spittoon. The walls were covered in yellowish grime. I hadn't paid attention before, but now it really grossed me out. The 2 Yi brothers reflexively ducked back further. For the sake of my battery, I fought an internal struggle for a few seconds, suppressed my disgust, and asked if we could see the surveillance footage. The security guard didn't even look up. The surveillance was broken, waiting for repair. I feigned a pained expression and said the 500+ yuan I kept in the storage box was gone too, together with a new battery, over 1,000 yuan in losses. As I spoke, my left hand pulled out a truth-telling talisman and quietly slapped it onto the security guard's back. Then I pulled out the cigarettes and envelope, set them on the desk, and revealed a flattering smile, saying this was just a small token of appreciation. Looking at the money and cigarettes on the table, the security guard was stunned at first. Then he glanced at me with contempt and slammed his palm heavily onto the desk. What kind of person did I take him for? Was he that kind of guy? He only ever earned side money. How would he take cash? What would that make him? The guy who stole the battery was his son's brother, and he was the one who tipped him off. Otherwise, how would the thief know the complex's surveillance was broken? The moment those words came out, the guard's face changed drastically. He touched his mouth in shock, utter disbelief on his face. Wait, He'd clearly meant to refuse. How did he end up blurting out the truth? The two brothers behind me watched all this in dumbfounded shock. They thought I meant to scare the old man by acting tough and using numbers, but instead I pulled off a stunt like this. Just giving some cigarettes and money made the guy tell the truth? It felt totally surreal. Yet with it happening right before their eyes, they had no choice but to believe it. Ifon opened his mouth in surprise and silently gave a thumbs up. I gestured downward, calm. Keep it down. Let's handle serious business first. I demanded to know where the battery thieves were, where they were, how to contact them, and what his relationship was with them. The guard looked at me vigilantly and said there was no way he was telling me. They were his son's beloved friends. Then his mouth kept going on its own. Go out the door, turn left 200 meters, turn right 200 meters, turn left 500 meters. There was a conscientious recycling station there, and they were right inside. If no one was home, take the business card from the windowsill. His son had shares in that place, and he got a 10 yuan cut for every battery. He babbled on endlessly. His initial confusion turned to terror, then to numbness. Even covering his mouth with his hands couldn't stop the words. The Yi brothers were thinking, holy crap, this guy was an animal. The complex hired him as a security guard, and he teamed up with the thieves. Conscientious recycling station might as well be called unconscionable. I silently pulled out my phone and dialed the police. After giving the location, I instructed the two brothers to keep a close eye on the guard, not let him run away or tip anyone off. I'd go intercept the thieves first. When the officers arrived, they'd guide them to the scrap station. The two brothers gave a salute like a pair of comedy acts, then zipped into the room, unplugged the phone line, and stared at the guard intensely. I packed away the cigarettes and money, grabbed the business card, and was about to leave. But looking at the old guy, I felt it wasn't impossible for him to play dirty and bully two students. After a moment of hesitation, I pulled the two brothers out and told them to just keep watch. Don't touch him. Be careful not to let him extort them. Just as I left, the security guard's face abruptly changed. He clamped his legs tightly together, face turning red as an apple. He needed to go to the bathroom, couldn't hold it. You laughed and said planning to run away? Go ahead, see if an old man could outrun the young master who was on the school track team. The guard's face fell flat as he solemnly corrected that he wasn't running away. He just wanted to call his son and tip him off. Even as he muttered, his feet didn't stop, squeezing quickly out of the office. I left the complex and headed for the conscientious recycling station. This was a scrap yard hidden outside an old residential community, with only a tricycle park by the road and scrap recycling written on it. Walking about 100 meters inward to the courtyard gate, there were two nearly scrapped vans and the station's name on the main gate. The courtyard was about 100 square meters, with a scale at the entrance, an iron sheet shed on the left piled with discarded steel and cardboard, and rooms and warehouses on the right packed with all kinds of books. Inside the shaded courtyard, a bearded, tall, burly middle-aged man was lying on a boss chair, holding a copy of Water Margin, reading it with a serious expression. His phone was playing a video, and a banana was nearby, hidden under his clothes. I quietly entered, looked around, and locked my gaze on a tightly closed door with thunderous noise from inside. I asked if he bought storage batteries. The sudden voice startled him so bad his book dropped to the ground. He flurriedly pulled up his clothes to cover the phone and cursed at me for not knocking. I said his door was wide open. How was I supposed to knock? I showed him the business card from the security booth. His expression improved slightly, but having his video interrupted still made him irritable. He told me to speak quickly. I approached with an apologetic expression, pretending to search for cigarettes, while my left hand took out a truth-telling talisman and gently patted his shoulder. The moment it stuck, I didn't even bother with the cigarettes. I asked cavalierly about their cooperation, where they put stolen batteries, how many people they had, how strong their capital was, how many batteries per month, and whether they could sell them securely. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded, but his mouth opened automatically. They didn't call it stealing. They called it robbing the rich to help the poor. The batteries were placed in the backyard, guarded by 6 brothers. Quite a few friends outside, too. 100 or 80 pieces a week was no problem. Recycling price ranged from 100 to 700, and after refurbishment, they sold for 2 to 3 times the price. I nodded and said their strength wasn't bad. I make a phone call to contact some brothers to send goods over. Right in front of him, I dialed the police. I told them I'd found a stolen goods disposal gang, 6 people, at the address on Gudong Road. The middle-aged man reacted and roared at me for playing with him. He called for his brothers. A group of middle-aged men rushed out of the closed room. A thin 1.6-meter man asked what was going on. Old Wong said I'd call the cops. The crowd was furious, daring to finger them. Tired of living? Brothers, get him. I wasn't scared at all. I pointed at the recorder on my chest and told them they clearly knew the items were stolen, yet helped sell, collect, conceal, and transport them. This was the crime of concealing criminal proceeds. Serious circumstances, 3 to 7 years imprisonment. If they gathered a crowd to fight, it could involve underworld organizations and intentional injury. The leader, Brother Nyo, waved his hand and told them to close the door and beat the dog. They lunged forward. I helplessly spread my hands, flashed forward, grabbed Old Wong's arm, and slapped it into another person's face. When someone kicked, I pulled Old Wong forward again. Slep, slep, sleb. The ones getting hit were always the recycling station people. I'd cultivated to chi refining level 1, and with spiritual power running, my endurance was at least doubled. These middle-aged men were good-for-nothings. Aside from big bellies providing slightly stronger defense, the rest was unsightly. 10 minutes later, sirens rang out. The courtyard gate was kicked open, and 6 or 7 law enforcement officers rushed in, shouting to hold heads and squat down. But they were all stunned. 6 middle-aged big men were squatting on the ground like quails, covered in dust and footprints. And sitting on the boss chair was a young man in a gray shirt, completely clean, not a speck of ash on him. I greeted them with a smile and said I'd hand them over. 2 officers grabbed my shoulders and said I was suspected of receiving stolen goods. I was completely dumbfounded. Receiving stolen goods? What stolen goods? Wasn't I an informant reporting a criminal gang? I even caught them. Old Wong said unhappily that the report was correct, but they weren't caught by me. They couldn't hit me, so they had no choice but to surrender. The others yelled about how I beat them up, but then Old Wong opened his mouth and said no, I didn't hit them. They beat themselves up entirely. They all beat him alone. If I didn't believe it, look at the footprints. The officers awkwardly let go. Misunderstanding. But I still needed to come along to make a statement. In the afternoon, under the unsparing explanation of Old Wong and the security guard, a total of 7 thieves, 6 stolen goods receivers, and 3 moles from the surrounding 3 communities were all captured. After cooperating with the officers to finish giving statements, I and the 2 Yi brothers came out of the station carrying our respective storage batteries. Yi said thank goodness for me, otherwise they'd definitely have been beaten up at home. Yi Feng said these batteries were super expensive, equivalent to pocket money for a whole year, and offered to treat me to take out. I waved my hand, saying they were still students. They insisted, saying I was a student too, and were looking down on them. Yi started ordering. Mapo tofu, shredded pork and sweet bean sauce, 3 fresh lion's head, fresh meat Xylong Bayo, and rice for each person. I couldn't refuse and agreed to have it delivered to my place. After the food delivery guy called saying he'd arrived, we went to the entrance and found nothing there. The delivery guy confirmed he'd delivered to 1201, Building 1, Yanwan Garden, and even taken a photo. We realized the food had been stolen. The delivery guy rushed over and matched the identifiers. He said very determinedly it was the right place. The next-door neighbor was a plump aunt with a chubby kid, and she'd happened to be bringing the kid back when he arrived. Just as we were looking, a child's voice came from the neighboring house. Grandma, these meatballs were so delicious. Free stuff was always the best. The thief was right next door. We knocked loudly. After a while, an impatient voice asked who was it, in a rush to be reincarnated. The door opened, and a 1.5-meter, 150-kilogram middle-aged woman stood there. She coughed heavily and spat a foul-smelling, thick phlegm on the ground. Instant noodle hair, barrel waist, standing at the doorway like a door panel. Behind her, An uncle was happily holding a chubby boy around 6 or 7, who had fried chicken in one hand and a lion's head meatball in the other, eating until his mouth was covered in oil. In front of them were our dishes, cola, burgers, everything. Right on the floor, beside the table, sat our food delivery bag. I noticed the address and phone number on it were completely different from mine. I recognized these three. They were tenants. Hu Lijing, her husband Fan Jun, who was the residential property cleaning supervisor, and the little one Fan Xianlong. Yi knew his dishes and recognized them at a glance. Yi Feng said he was going to take pictures and post them in the group chat. The delivery guy was furious. Call the police. But Hu Lijing became unhappy. Rolling her dead fish eyes, she clamored that this was clearly what they ordered. She looked us up and down with contempt, calling us country bumpkins and outsiders. And me, a little brat with no father or mother, she told me to scram. Her son was the public security officer of this area. One phone call, and I'd be squatting inside for days. My anger rose. This fellow was as fat as a big wild boar, face covered in grease. She was caught red-handed stealing and still refused to admit it, blaming others for framing her. And her son was merely a temporary worker. What was she putting on airs for? I took out my recorder and told Yi Feng to send the footage to the group chat. Yi should call the police. I told the delivery guy this wasn't his fault. He could go. The delivery guy said he was a crowdsource worker, nothing to be afraid of, and started snapping photos of Hu Lijing, telling his brothers the food delivery thief of Yangwang Garden had been caught. Hu Lijing panicked and slammed the door shut. Inside, Fan Jun told his wife calmly that while she was talking with them, he'd already secretly ordered another portion. When the time came, they'd just say they took the wrong one. Hu Lijing slapped her thigh excitedly. Then she lowered her voice and said the eldest grandson's stomach hurt terribly from mistakenly eating their food. They must compensate. Fan Jun instructed the chubby boy that in a little while he'd do this and that, and Grandpa will buy lots of delicious food. The boy clapped his hands and hopped with joy. He was best at crying. Fan Jun said when the officers arrived, they'd also call the police and accuse us of poisoning them. Before long, over a dozen delivery workers and 6 or 7 neighbors had gathered in the small corridor, crowding the space. Cursing and swearing, they banged on the door of 1202. Thief, come out. If you had the guts to steal, don't hide your head and show your tail. Someone had lost 3 deliveries last month, worth 60 or 70 yuan. Another had lost dozens of things over the months, and calling the police was completely useless. A middle-aged public security officer, accompanied by a newly transferred young officer, took the elevator up. The crowd surged forward. The middle-aged officer, Zhang sighed, raised his hand, and told everyone to listen. They'd come to investigate. Don't be impulsive. He kindly confirmed with me if they were sure it was stolen. Yi said absolutely sure the delivery bags hadn't even been thrown away. Officer Zhang sighed, said, let's conduct a normal inquiry first. If it was stolen, they'd issue a severe reprimand. But he also criticized us for posting people's information in the group chat without confirming, saying it was an infringement on privacy. The delivery drivers and neighbors became unhappy. Was it easy for people like them? They built this city, their food deliveries got lost, they had to pay losses, and when they turned to the officers, they couldn't find the thief. 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, a year, no news. They figured out a way themselves, and now it was invasion of privacy? If the officers could find the thief, would they need to violate privacy? Someone mentioned that if it weren't for Lin Fan bringing 2 children to catch that battery thief gang, the officers wouldn't have caught them in Monkey's Age. Officer Zhang Side's expression changed over and over, but he couldn't lose his temper. With so many people present, if anyone recorded a video, he'd be finished. He knocked on the door. Hu Lijing burst into tears, shouting about how there was no way for people to live. Was there anything wrong with eating their own delivery? Officer Zhang Side's expression turned green. Having worked so many years, one look told him this person was not someone easily messed with. He asked if they had the order. Hu Lijing's crying vanished instantly, without a single tear. Of course they had it. Fan Jun walked out, holding 2 delivery bags. At that moment, a delivery driver squeezed forward, saying he had a delivery for 1202. Everyone stared at him, more than a dozen pairs of eyes. The driver pinned his fingers into an orchid gesture and twisted embarrassedly, asking if they were mesmerized by his youthful talent. Several delivery drivers familiar with him grabbed him and gave him a severe beating. Officer Zhang sighed, took the delivery bags, and checked the new delivery information on the phone. The next second, he and the young officer noticed something was wrong. There was an interval of more than half an hour between the two identical orders. One was just before 6, the other past 6:40. And what 12:02 was eating was precisely the delivery for 12:01. Officer Zhang sighed, asked if they didn't find it strange that the orders would be delivered at the same time with such a long interval. Hu Lijing shrugged and said they were old and their eyes were failing. The restaurant was only a few hundred meters away, so fast delivery was normal. Fan Jun let out a long sigh and said a few days ago his grandson wanted to eat from that restaurant. Then his hand gently pinched the chubby boy's butt. The boy screamed about his stomach hurting, then realized it was Grandpa's secret signal and immediately burst into tears. Fan Jun pointed at me and gritted his teeth. If anything happened to his grandson, we'd all bear responsibility. He'd sue us until we were bankrupt. The young officer blurted out that it was so fake. Everyone had seen through it, but if the family insisted they just ate the wrong delivery, there was nothing they could do. Right then, the system chimed, detected that a beast-blooded prodigy distorted facts, and framed me. Please counterattack. Reward: 300 low-grade 5-element spirit stones and 3 first-rank top-grade puppet talismans. On the surface, I looked normal, but inside I was blooming with joy. Bold prodigy, daring to frame me. I squeezed forward gently and said the child couldn't be faking it, right? I knew a little bit of medicine. Let me take a look. As I spoke, I secretly prepared the truth-telling talisman, waiting for the exact moment to slap it on. Right at the critical moment, Fan Jun pulled the child away, asking what I was trying to do. Although the talisman didn't stick to the child, it stuck to his arm instead. I spread my hands and said I just wanted to ask if the child was faking it. Fan Jun's face turned red, and he shouted that there was nothing to prove. Then his mouth started going on its own. He said the child was faking it, and the deliveries lost in this compound were also stolen by them. What could anyone do? His son was the officer of this area, a death-free gold medal. He knew quite a few big shots. If I dared trouble him, he'd definitely kill me. As soon as the words left his mouth, he stood dumbfounded. He hadn't wanted to say any of that. Hu Lijing's face showed panic, and she quickly covered his mouth, babbling nonsense. But everyone had already heard clearly. The anger meters of the delivery drivers and neighbors skyrocketed. They cursed at him for stealing things and threatening people. Someone said they had severe depression anyway. Might as well hug the whole family and jump off a building. The crowd surged forward angrily, and even the 2 officers were knocked down. Officer Zhang sighed, hurriedly shouted for everyone to calm down. He told the young officer, Xiao Feng, to notify the station to send people. Hu Lijing waved her hand, saying it was a misunderstanding. Her old man's brain was abnormal. But Fan Jun muttered from his side that it was bullshit. Her brain was abnormal. She was the one who took the child to steal deliveries, and sometimes he went too. Why couldn't they investigate? Because the security guard at the gate was their own person. If their son hadn't acted as their umbrella, could they have smoothly stolen so many batteries? It was all thanks to their son tipping them off. Then he turned to me. Little brat. He'd remembered me. I dared ruin their good deeds. Given time, he'd definitely kill me. As his voice fell, he angrily slapped himself right across the face. He was furious at himself for blurting out things he shouldn't have said. I taunted him. He still wanted revenge? He'd better figure out how to survive this ordeal first. Fan Jun couldn't control his mouth. He blurted straight out that there was a gun in his son's bedroom drawer. When he had time, he'd blow my brains out with a single shot. The scene instantly fell silent. Everyone stared at Fan Jun in disbelief. The chubby boy was confused. Didn't Grandpa say nobody was allowed to talk about Dad having a gun? Officer Zhang sighed, and Xiao Feng's expressions changed drastically. They pulled out telescopic batons and pepper spray, shouting, "Don't move. Everyone squat down." Hu Lijing squatted in panic. Fan Jun placed the grandson on the ground and obediently squatted too. Officer Zhang sighed, told Xiao Feng to report to superiors and request a search warrant. Meanwhile, the system panel popped up. Congratulations for punishing the beast blood demon. Rewarded 300 spirit stones and 3 puppet talismans. I was in high spirits. I threw my arms around the 2 Yi brothers. Caught a family of thieves. Big brother was happy, treating them to eat outside. Yi Feng said eliminating a scourge was worth celebrating. Yi worried about revenge. The listener took it to heart. I pursed my lips and asked if they were thinking of revenge. Hu Lijing instantly lost her arrogance, lowering her head, saying they weren't that kind of people. Fan Jun cursed through his teeth that he'd remember me, kill my whole family, and first do things to my younger sister, then kill her. The killing intent in my eyes became uncontrollable. The surrounding air grew cold. Officer Zhang sighed, sensed something wrong, and pressed one hand tightly on my shoulder. Don't be impulsive. Don't ruin your life because of him. Xiao Feng also persuaded me. I was still young. Just when everyone thought I'd act rashly, I smiled faintly. Rest assured, I wouldn't be that foolish. As I spoke, my left and right hands simultaneously patted Fan Jun and Hu Lijing on the shoulder twice each. I'd wait for them to take revenge. I was just afraid they didn't have the strength. The moment my hand fell, a puppet talisman and a beast form talisman were stuck onto them. The next second, Fan Jun abruptly stood up, violently knocked me, and Officer Zhang sighed down, then slammed the door shut tightly. Through the door, he shouted in a stiff tone that none of us sitting here would escape him. The sudden scene happened too fast. Officer Zhang sighed, reacted immediately. His expression changed drastically. Everyone hurry and leave. This person was extremely dangerous. Xiao Feng, request support from the Bureau's Special Operations Team. The delivery workers and neighbors ran down the stairs in terror. The 2 Yi brothers grabbed my clothes, trembling. This family was full of lunatics. I patted their shoulders calmly. No need to be scared. The officers were right here. I gave the brothers a look and pressed the elevator button. Once inside, I couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. The brothers were puzzled. I took out the recorder, waved it, and explained. I was now the brand spokesperson for this recorder company. What they said was my incriminating evidence. The brothers understood instantly. Once this was reported, even if the Public Security Bureau wanted to cover for them, it wouldn't be easy. I exported the video via software, forwarded it to Emotion, and attached a message about this being big news. Inside room 1202, Hu Lijing was caught off guard by her partner's strange actions. The door was closed, leaving only the 3 family members inside. Thinking of the severity, she beat Fan Jun in anger. Marrying him was 8 lifetimes of bad karma. He was screwing over his son instead of his father. Now their son's job wasn't guaranteed, and they were going to prison. Fan Jun, eyes filled with fear, grabbed her head and dragged her with stiff steps toward their son's bedroom, telling the grandson to play outside. While the officers waited for support, the bodies of Fan Jun and his wife underwent a bizarre transformation. Fur slowly grew on their bodies, and then their bodies slowly shrank and curved, instantly turning into a large Shiba Inu and a cat with black spotted patterns. Cats and dogs were mostly enemies. Exchanging a glance, they immediately began biting and tearing at each other, fur flying everywhere. When the Public Security Station officers and the Municipal Bureau's Special Operations Team rushed over to support, and little fatty Fan Qianlong opened the door, they saw that only the little fatty was inside the living room. The public security officer looked vigilantly toward the tightly closed bedroom door and cautiously opened it. The next second, a battered cat and dog rushed out of the room and instantly vanished without a trace. When everyone looked into the room, they only saw clothes scattered on the ground and a floor covered in blood-stained fur. They questioned the little fatty Fan Qianlong and learned that Fan Jun had grabbed Hu Lijing by the hair and entered the bedroom, and they never came out. Everyone entered the house to search carefully, but the figures had disappeared without a trace. All they found were a divorce certificate, a replica Type 54 pneumatic gun, and a pile of gas canisters and steel balls. This bizarre scene left everyone baffled. Nowadays, This case involved an internal personnel member and required investigation, so they could only call the child's mother to come pick him up. At Mode Company, the marketing manager reported that recorder sales in the Runjo area alone had increased by 300%. It was a massive hit. Mo Dashing was so happy his mouth couldn't close. He forwarded the video to the marketing manager, took 10,000 yuan from the drawer, and tossed it on the table as my reward. He told them to edit the video and upload it within half an hour and call a same-city delivery to send me a few recorders. The video hit the trending searches. Takeout stolen, delivery brother angrily calls police, exposes underworld protective umbrella. From stolen takeout to secretly hiding firearms. Middle-aged couple stealing community takeout, refusing to admit trying to muddle through. The internet was filled with related information, and netizens were furious. Someone said they were right there at the scene, heard the old man say none of you will escape with their own ears. Another said if you had the ability, switch places. Meanwhile, the entire official circle of Runjo experienced a massive earthquake. Sun Yu, as the Public Security Bureau director, was scolded to a bloody pulp by the top 2 leaders of Dongjiang province. Returning to the municipal bureau, he directly chewed out all the branch bureau directors underneath him. I didn't pay any attention to all this. After finishing my meal and parting ways with the Yi brothers, I went straight home and began my daily cultivation. A night passed in the blink of an eye. When the 28 spirit stones arranged around my body completely turned to powder, the liquid beneath the chi vortex inside my dantian had increased significantly. I glanced at my phone. August 13th, 9/11. Cloudy. I'd started cultivating as soon as I came home yesterday for a full 14 hours. Deep cultivation was even more comfortable than sleeping. I opened the system panel. My attributes: strength 1.5, physique 1.5, agility 1.5, spirit 3.7. Cultivation, Chi refining level 1 at 22.5%. Wealth, 2,630 low-grade spirit stones. Although I hadn't broken through to level 2, I was quite content. I stretched lazily, swept the spirit stone powder into the trash, flushed the toilet, and made breakfast. Eating alone was always simple. A fried poached egg, a bowl of noodles, some dried radishes. Just as I was eating, I got a WeChat call from my younger sister, Lin Yu. A trendy young maiden with large headphones and an anime-themed Ita bag appeared in the video. Standing next to her was her best friend Xiao Xiao from the same village as us, the 3 of us having grown up together. Compared to Lin Yu's anime style, Xiao Xiao wore a white tight-fitting dress that barely covered her thighs, with tiny lace trims outlining a graceful figure and legs that could blind countless otaku. Lin Yu muttered anxiously why I hadn't told her I was hit by a car. If she hadn't seen the Kuaishou video, she'd still be in the dark. Looking at her anxious expression, I grinned. Already anxious, seeing me smile, her tears streamed down. She was my only remaining family member. If anything happened to me, how would she live? Xiao Xiao also had red eyes and rebuked me for not telling them. I comforted them, holding up my phone and jumping around to show I was fine. I told them not to rush back. They could travel and play for a few days. After chatting for a long time and explaining everything, I hung up. Both girls were very smart. Admitted to Jianghe University's accounting major with scores of 605 and 602. The little girl was sensible and didn't make me worry. 3 days after the college entrance exam, she went to find a temporary job. There was still more than half a month before school started. Since I told them to play, I couldn't let them wrong themselves. I wired her another 10,000 yuan as pocket money and told her I was now a product advertising agent for Mode Company, making 100,000 a year. No need to work part-time, just have fun. She replied with a happy emoji and called me the best brother. I sent a Thundercat gif saying I was the best brother in heaven and earth. She called me narcissistic and said bye-bye. After closing the chat, I finished my noodles, washed the pot and bowls in one. Smooth motion. Then I sat on the living room sofa, thinking. Teaching my sister to cultivate was necessary, but my own understanding was only half-baked. If something went wrong, I'd regret it beyond redemption. Better to teach her after I achieved some success. Cultivation required balance. In the future, I'd cultivate at night and exercise and read during the day. Maybe having more people around would trigger more system tasks. The best place nearby was the school. It had people, a sports field, a library, and a back mountain. Only 5 to 10 minutes walk. As for the video Mo dashing sent, I wasn't in a rush. My primary task was grinding system tasks. In case this damn system reacted one day and ran away, I'd suffer a huge loss. I rummaged through the bedside table for my campus card and went out. On the other side, at the bus stop, the two best friends exchanged glances after hanging up and said in unison, "Old fan was fine. Let's go celebrate." They smiled at each other with extreme tacit understanding and turned to leave the bus stop, linking arms and walking with small steps. Xiao Xiao asked what Lin Yu's plans were. Was she going to quit directly? Lin Yu said quit what? School didn't start until September 7th. Leaving on the 1st was fine. Xiao Xiao said she'd listen. But Lin Yu had to treat her to a big meal. She'd worked herself thin accompanying her. Lin Yu glanced at Xiao Xiao's proud figure and said, "Thinned out from hunger? Are you sure it didn't get bigger?" Xiao Xiao let out a soft huff and proudly puffed out her chest. It was innate. Lin Yu was just green with envy. Lin Yu said fine. For the sake of her future sister-in-law, spending a little money was right. Xiao Xiao said 1 meal won't do. Lin Yu said 1 meal won't do, then 2. If that still doesn't work, she'd gift old fan to her to eat. Xiao Xiao said she was asking to die. At the main gate of Jianghe University, holding my campus card, I heard the system chime. Detected one academy of the Great Xia dynasty in the Xinjiang continent. New task. Being literate was essential for an immortal cultivator, but merely knowing words wasn't enough. Please be admitted to an academy to gain student status. Reward. 1 basic knowledge atlas of the immortal realm and 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. I paused and looked up at the gate. I wanted to complain that the system was an idiot, but remembering it was giving rewards, I raised the campus card and silently said, "Bucket, look at what this is." The system confirmed I'd been admitted to Jianghe Academy and become an official student. Rewards delivered. A book appeared in my ring. I took it out, dripped blood on it using a fishhook from inside the ring, and the characters flew in my mind one by one. The table of contents had 10 items: cultivation systems, magic treasures and weapons, medicinal pills and spirit plants, talismans and formations, races and living beings, geographical environments, faction organizations, cultivation laws, karma and destiny, and time currency. The cultivation system section was divided into profound cultivators, body cultivators, martial Tao, demonic cultivators, ghost cultivators, monster cultivators, Buddhist cultivators, and more. All had 10 realms, each with 12 levels and 4 minor realms. Once reaching Qi refining level 7, you could attempt artifact flight, though it was low, slow, and short range. True flight required foundation establishment. It also recorded that above the conventional cultivation system was the heavenly Tao. Worlds were divided into small, middle, and great kiliocosm. Below small kiliocosm were many miniature worlds. All had heavenly Tao consciousness. The larger the world, the stronger the heavenly Tao, which was 2 ranks greater than the strongest practitioner. Medicinal pills and talismans were ranked 1 to 10, with 4 grades each. Races included humans, monsters, ghosts, immortals, gods, demons. Humans naturally possess spiritual roots in 5 ranks: low, middle, upper, prime, and heavenly grade. Attributes included the basic 5 elements, mutated attributes like lightning, ice, wind, and supreme origins like sun, moon, stars, and chaos. The geography of the Xinjiang continent had 5 domains: east, west, south, north, center, each with many countries and various factions divided into 9 ranks. But none of this was useful to me, so I ignored it. What caught my attention was the spirit stone consumption rates. Qi refining early stage required 10 pieces per level, middle stage 20, late stage 40, peak 80. I calculated silently. 2 pieces gave 1.5%, so 1 piece was 0.75%. Reaching layer 2 required about 134 pieces. If it doubled with every minor realm, reaching foundation establishment would require an absurd amount. I asked the system why my consumption was so high. It explained that the chaos spiritual root could use all attributes, so storage and compression consumption was naturally several to 10 times that of ordinary roots. I accepted this. Blame my shallowness. Forgive me for speaking so loudly. Absorbing the knowledge, I walked slowly toward the school. On both sides were student dormitories, men on the left, women on the right. Walking further in, East Lake was to the left, and the basketball court, football field, and sports ground to the right. Between East Lake and the apartments was the Zhigao building. Although it was summer vacation, some students stayed for the summer short semester, experimental courses, competitions, and graduate research that continued year-round. I entered the school leisurely. As I passed East Lake and was about to turn, I heard commotion. Run quickly, a mad dog was biting people. Security, call security. Someone save the eldest grandson. I looked up and saw a turd yellow teddy on the lakeshore lawn, baring its teeth and barking wildly at everyone. Next to it, an old grandmother with a crutch was protecting a boy in his early teens. The child was collapsed on the ground, crying in fright, blood all over his legs. That dog looked bizarre. Then urgent system prompts sounded. Warning, warning. The Foundation establishment realm Yao Beast Hao Hound was wantonly attacking Great Xia citizens. My strength was relatively weak. Please leave as soon as possible. Looking at the subtitles, I was not only not afraid, but somewhat excited. Having a system prompt meant I was noticed by the system. If I could subdue this dog, I might get a handsome reward. If such a good opportunity delivered to my doorstep was wasted, it would truly be intolerable to heaven and earth. I stepped forward directly, pointed at the teddy, and let out an angry shout. Audacious beast, this was not a place for you to run amok. See how young master dealt with you. My roar stunned the crowd. People whispered about whose young man this was, so brave. Someone said he was just like themselves with guts 20 years ago. Another pointed out they looked only around 20, and the first person admitted 20 years ago they fought a ferocious dog, got bitten, died of rabies, and reincarnated. Not a single person dared to move. The system rewarded me for showing commendable courage by rebuking the Yao Beast. 50 low-grade spirit stones and 3 first-ranked top-grade attack conversion talismans. The attack conversion talisman was a combined version of the reversal talisman and puppet talisman. Paste it on a target and it would attack a designated candidate within 15 minutes, commonly used for taming beasts. 3 talismans appeared in my ring. The system warning became more urgent. The Hao Hound had targeted me. Leave immediately or face mortal danger. I looked at the attack conversion talisman description and grinned. This system's quirkiness was exactly as I'd guessed. Now I knew what to do. I licked the corner of my mouth, battle igniting. I avoided sharp edge. That would require asking whether a mere beast was worth my fear. With a catapult-like start, I darted beside the teddy and landed a kick right in its belly. The dog, about 30 centimeters at the shoulder, instantly traced an arc and soared into the sky. After landing, it rolled on the slope and fell directly into the lake. The crowd hadn't figured out what happened before the dog was in the pond, swimming desperately towards shore and howling. People were shocked. This young man knocked it over 5 meters with one kick. Well done. Where were the security personnel? Still had to rely on young people. While the crowd discussed, I watched the system panel. Detected that I defeated the Hao Hound across ranks. Reward: 3 first-rank medium-grade water arrow talismans and 150 low-grade spirit stones. The water arrow talisman could condense an invisible water arrow within 5 meters, effective for 5 minutes. Could kill without a trace. 3 talismans and 150 stones appeared in my ring. I gazed at the teddy in the lake with glowing eyes. If I killed it, no, this Yao Beast dared attack the human race in broad daylight. This was a capital crime. I walked toward the lakeshore. School security guards ran over with clubs and landing nets. The leading captain, Tiger Brother, had a face full of cold sweat and asked where the dog was and how the injured were. People told him that dog bit principal's son's nephew, and a classmate kicked it into the lake. Some said catch it, others said kill it. It probably had rabies. Then some sanuses overflowed with empathy. Doggy was so cute, why kill it? It bit people. Could the person bitten not be at fault? That person who hurt Doggy, kicking it so far, how much pain must it be in? A made-up boy with lipstick and manicured nails pinched an orchid finger and said sarcastically to compensate with money, treat Doggy's illness, buy it delicious food. I stared. Were these still normal people? They must be imposters. This dog bit people, and they wanted to buy it delicious food. It was not human, but they were truly dogs. The grandmother of the bitten child instantly blew her top, raising her crutch and cursing at the fake. Humans. Just now they were walking fine, and that little beast bit them for no reason. How did it become their fault? The few female students didn't care, akimbo with tongues out. Blah, blah, blah. It was their fault to begin with. Why didn't it bite us and only bite them? The grandmother was so angry her hair stood on end. She remembered who threw ham sausages. She was going to sue those bastards to death and get those scumbags expelled. She pulled out a senior citizen mobile phone to call her son. The sanuses and sissies flared up and started filming the grandmother, calling her a man-pandering old hag using power to bully others. Looking at this scene, I had dark lines all over my face and a massive patch of goosebumps. I truly got to witness the diversity of species. If this wasn't treated, then the system's prompt rang out. Detected a Yao human impersonating a human. Please administer punishment. Reward: 1 bottle of first-tier medium-grade kidney tonifying pills and a yellow-ranked top-grade insight technique. A kidney tonifying pill? With my current strength, did I need that? However, the insight technique seemed quite nice. I already found these idiots unpleasing and wanted to make a move, and now there were even rewards. My thoughts spun. I flipped my hand to take out the attack conversion talisman. Taking advantage of everyone's attention being on those sanuses, I grabbed it and threw it onto the dog wandering by the roadside. The teddy, which had originally wanted to attack me, froze for a split second the moment the talisman paper stuck to its body. Then its gaze locked onto those sanuses holding mobile phones. They were filming right in the grandmother's face, thoroughly enjoying bullying an old woman, completely failing to notice the teddy was already standing behind them, staring with vicious eyes. The next second, the teddy let out a roar and lunged forward, biting down hard on the calf of the woman who'd been screaming the most fiercely. She screamed for help. The few of them retreated one by one, casting pleading gazes around. But given the previous experience, nobody dared help. I chuckled and spread my hands. They'd said it themselves. A dog biting people must mean the person was in the wrong. Did they secretly do something shameful? The dog barked frantically and lunged at the others, scaring everyone into fleeing. People naturally seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Now that trouble came, if they didn't run, when would they? The dog's speed was fast, and the fleeing side was all women. The advantage lay with the dog. I watched and chuckled gleefully. I noticed a sissy who'd hidden behind the crowd. A flash of profound meaning crossed my eyes. I quietly approached and patted his shoulder. Brother, weren't those his friends? Why not go help? The moment my hand fell, a bowel-cleansing talisman was stuck onto his shoulder. The sissy shook his head, saying he didn't know them, shaking his head while retreating backward. I smiled slightly and left quickly. The next second, the sissy's stomach began to rumble. His foundation-caked face scrunched up. A stream of liquid resembling melted chocolate flowed down his trouser legs. The Yao beast seemed attracted by some mysterious force. Its movements paused, then it lunged straight toward him. The sissy screamed. The beast was simply hungry and didn't pay him the slightest attention. The surrounding onlookers turned and ran in fright. The sanuses who'd been bitten, whether from fright or disgust, lowered their heads and vomited wildly. Having replenished its stamina, the Yao beast turned and locked onto the sanuses still retching on the ground. They screamed and sprinted, praying to evade the beast. Fortunately, Brother Who seemed to react. He ordered his brothers to pick up tools and chase the dog. He swung a stick at the running dog's head, but hit the ground instead, startling it and arousing its ferocity. It tore at the sanuses frantically. You run, the dog chases. Get caught and suffer terrible misfortune. Painful wails echoed across. East Lake. Brother who chased for over 10 minutes before one of his subordinates struck the dog with a stick, knocking it into the lake. He roared excitedly to keep watching the landing spot and beat it to death, treating everyone to hot pot tonight. While watching the show, I curiously took out the jade slip for the insight technique and pressed it to the center of my eyebrows. It transformed into white light and flew into my mind. A wave of unfamiliar memories flooded in. I chanted the incantation silently. Break illusions to see the truth. Perceive the minute to know the source. Go. Half my spiritual power was consumed instantly, and information appeared above the heads of people around me. Wang Yi had peeked at adult videos on the computer for 15 consecutive days. Sun Qian went on dates with different men behind her boyfriend's back every day. Qianlu pried open park lawn with a wooden stick and stole tissues from a restaurant. Many people within 10 meters had strings of information floating above their heads. Some were trivial, some violated morality. I was curious about the one who watched adult videos for 15 days straight. Were they really that strong? And the one dating different people, the legendary time management master? But I shifted attention to the consumption. This technique used half my spiritual power in a single use. My internal energy was roughly equivalent to a little over 2 spirit stones, and one use consumed 1 stone. Quite expensive. I needed to use it in moderation. While watching, I took out spirit stones to replenish. After less than 5 minutes of watching, seeing the security guards about to steal my kill, I quickly put away the stones, took out a water arrow talisman, and stuck it on my body. I felt a concentrated arrow of water origin chi condensing. This arrow was different from ordinary water, more spiritual, tougher, and I could control it within a 5-meter range. With a thought, the water arrow shot out at high speed, drilling through the dog's nasal cavity into its head and exploding. The force accurately blasted toward the head. The dog floundered a few times and stopped moving. Coincidentally, the security guard sticks fell once more, and the teddy was dead as dead could be. Watching them fish out the corpse, I upheld the attitude of doing good deeds without leaving a name, and also fearing being pestered by lunatics, and walked straight away with my hand behind my back. The system chimed. The host was exceptionally brave, slaying a Foundation establishment realm Yao beast across ranks. Specially rewarded. Yellow rank top grade Crimson Flame Fist. The jade slip touched my brows, and a wave of memories appeared. A hollow voice echoed. 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things. The power depended on the strength attribute. Crimson Flame Fist was divided into the Bone Refining chapter and the Move chapter with 3 moves. Move 1, Crimson Flame Body Incineration, came with surface flames for protection and offense. Move 2, Crimson Flame Heart Probe, cultivated fire energy to drill into the enemy and burn their spiritual power or meridians. Move 3, Crimson Flame Piercing Clouds, could punch out a 3-zhang-long conical scorching current for single or group attacks. Along with the memories, my panel updated. Martial skill, Crimson Flame Fist, uninitiated. I was stunned. The power of the 3 moves depended on strength, and my current strength could only execute 1 punch. 1 Punch Man? So trashy? But I cast the thought aside. Anything produced by the system was bound to be fine. That 3-zhang conical scorching current wasn't simple. I'd better find a place to practice first. What was this called? Giving a taste of one's own medicine. If you blindly like dogs, you must certainly be able to accept dogs' ferocity and perversion. The few sanuses who'd been clamoring to protect the rabid dog got bitten themselves. I laughed with gaga glee as I watched. While watching the show, I curiously took out the jade slip for the insight technique and pressed it to the center of my eyebrows. The moment they touched, the jade slip transformed into a streak of white light that flew into my mind. Immediately after, a wave of unfamiliar memories flooded in. I had 12-part curiosity toward this insight technique. I directly chanted the incantation silently. Break illusions to see the truth, perceive the minute to know the source, go. In an instant, half of my spiritual power was consumed, and immediately a string of information appeared above the heads of the people around me. Wang Yi peeked at adult videos on the computer last night, peeked at adult videos on the computer the night before yesterday, peeked at adult videos on the computer 3 days ago. Great. Sun Xian went on a date with the school hunk behind her boyfriend's back yesterday. Went on a date with a male classmate behind her boyfriend's back the day before yesterday. Went on a date with her ex-boyfriend behind her boyfriend's back 3 days ago. Qianlu, 3 days ago, called his girlfriend while prying open the park lawn with a wooden stick, prying up a pit 15 centimeters deep and 1 meter in diameter, stole a pack of tissues from a restaurant 1 week ago. Many people standing within 10 meters of me had a string of information floating above their heads. Some were just trivial matters, while others violated morality. I didn't care about the others. I was simply quite curious about the one who watched adult videos on the computer for 15 consecutive days. Were they really that strong? And as for the one dating different people, could it be the legendary time management master? But immediately afterward, I shifted my attention to the consumption of spiritual power. Using this exploration technique actually consumed half of my spiritual power in a single use. From what was known in that booklet, a person's internal energy was generally 1/10 the amount of spirit stones they absorbed. The spiritual power content inside my body right now was equivalent to a little over 2 spirit stones, and this single use directly consumed one. It was truly quite expensive. It seemed this thing needed to be used in moderation. Thinking of this, while watching the show, I took out spirit stones to hurry up and replenish my spiritual power. After watching for less than 5 minutes, seeing several security guards land consecutive strikes, and about to steal my kill, I quickly put away the spirit stones, took out a water arrow talisman, and rapidly stuck the talisman paper onto my body. In an instant, I felt a concentrated arrow of water origin chi condensing in the water. This arrow seemed different from ordinary water. It was more spiritual, tougher, and could be controlled by me to shuttle back and forth within a 5-meter range. After I familiarized myself with the operation, my attention was entirely on that Yao beast. With a thought from my mind, the water arrow shot out at high speed, drilling straight through the nasal cavity into the dog's head and exploded. That force accurately blasted towards the dog's head. The dog floundered in the water a few times, and then stopped moving altogether. Coincidentally at this time, the security guard sticks fell once more, and the teddy was dead as dead could be. Watching the security guards fish out the dog's corpse, upholding the attitude of doing good deeds without leaving a name, and also fearing being pestered by lunatics, I directly put my hand behind my back and walked straight away. At the same time, my gaze was also paying attention to the system panel. The host is exceptionally brave, slaying a Foundation establishment realm Yao beast How dog across ranks, specially rewarding the yellow rank top grade Crimson Flame Fist. The Crimson Flame Fist cultivation technique directly transformed into a red stream of light that sank into the center of my eyebrows, and then a wave of memories appeared in my mind. A hollow voice echoed faintly in my mind. 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things. The power wielded by the 5 elements force varies depending on the strength attribute. Metal governs the edge of weapons, wood governs vitality, water. Crimson Flame Fist is divided into the bone refining chapter and the move chapter. After cultivating it, one can effectively improve their own fire resistance. There are a total of 3 moves. Move 1, Crimson Flame Body Incineration, comes with its own surface flames, capable of protecting oneself and injuring enemies. Move 2, Crimson Flame Heart Probe. Cultivate fire energy and control it to drill into the enemy's body, disrupting the circulation of their spiritual power, burning spiritual power, or directly scorching the meridians. Move 3, Crimson Flame Piercing Clouds. Punching out can form a 3 zhang long conical scorching current, suitable for both single-target and group attacks. Along with the cultivation technique memories operating in my mind, the data on the system panel changed. Martial skill, Crimson Flame Fist, uninitiated. Absorbing the memories in my mind, I was stunned for a moment. The power of the 3 moves could be determined based on strength, and no matter which move was used, my current strength could only execute 1 punch. One Punch Man? So trashy? As soon as this thought popped up, the next second I cast it to the back of my mind. Just kidding. Anything produced by the system is bound to be a fine product. Just that 3-zhang-long conical scorching current wasn't simple. How could it possibly be bad? I better find a place to practice first. I'm 70. Let me do it. Count me in too. My family doesn't have anyone that old. I'll chip in 10 yuan. Security guard. Ah, why are you hitting me? Help! Having already witnessed his truth-telling, the Yi brothers shrugged helplessly. There was nothing they could do. They hadn't expected the enemy to stab himself for no apparent reason, and right in a vital spot in public, no less.